searching for, trying to shallow this golf club in the downswing. Today's video is about 3 keys to shallowing the golf club. Really nice and simple. Let's get straight into it. Before we get on the first key to shallowing the golf club, we've got to understand this one thing. If we're going to shallow the club, we've got to strengthen the face. And I want you to understand that when we do this together, we've got to do some drills that are going to help us shallow the club, but strengthen the face. And if we don't do the two things together, we're probably not going to improve the ball flight the way we would like to. Right, let's get into the first key. Now, one thing I find that if we can get somebody moving the body a little bit better, then generally the club and the play of the club will work a little bit better as well. So the first thing I want you to feel is how we're going to start this golf swing in transition. So how we're going to start this downswing. And the feeling I want you to have now is that as we swing to the top of the here, I want you to feel like we're going to start from the ground up. So I want you to imagine we've got a laser pointing out the left of our hips, a laser pointing out to the left of our shoulders, and a laser on our hands. So what we want to do is we want to feel from the top of the backswing into downswing, we want to feel the laser moves on our lower half first, then the upper half laser, then the up down half laser, and then the hands and through. So ultimately it's like a staggered laser. We're going to feel like the lower half goes, upper half goes, and the shoulders go. So ultimately the position I'll be looking for if we're getting this club shallowing nicely, and an over exaggerated position I would be looking for. I think it's important if you're someone that struggles to shallow the club that we do work to extremes and we do over exaggerate things. So this is it here. We're going to swing to the top, start with a bottom laser, upper laser follows. So we get down to last parallel here. We've got a nice flat lead wrist. We've got the hips open relative to the target, the shoulders slightly closed or level with the ball to target line, and this club head behind our hands. So from here, we can release through. So again, we're going to feel this motion again. We're going to go to the top, lower, upper, hands. Lower, upper, hands. And that's the first key to shallowing the golf club. Yes, we know we need to strengthen the face and shallow the club. They're the thing that we have to happen together. But the first key point is let's start sequencing the body. If the body's not in sequence, it's then going to be very hard without manipulating the body in a bad way to shallow this club. So really nice and simple. I want you to hit this one with the driver nice and slow, just really focusing starting from the ground up. So remember the bottom laser from the hips, then the shoulder laser and the hands. So we're making these lasers work from right to left as we move down in the sequence. Let's move on to the second point, and again this is a feeling we want you to have in transition. We know what the body wants to do with point number 2 from starting from the ground up. What can we feel slightly differently in these hands? And this is really going to help us do this. Now again, I want to reiterate this, and we want to work at over exaggerated feelings, and I think if we do this, we go from one end of the spectrum to the other. We'll hopefully find that middle ground exactly where we want to be. So what do we want to feel for point number 2? Now a lot of people that don't shallow the club pull down this handle and it works this way. We already know now we don't want to feel that we pull down the handle, we want to start from the ground up. So how can we actually feel this move? How can we over exaggerate that? So we're going to show you right now. To the top, we're going to feel now, we're going to make this motion with the hands. So almost like the club's going to work this way. This way, and we've got to get used to the weight of this club falling down and behind us because we're so used to it falling this way. So the feeling I want you to do in transition, my right palm's going to point to the sky. My right palm's going to point to the sky, and we're going to feel these moves here. And I want you to add this into the first move, so you can see how here we're going to build some building blocks. So we're going to add this in to start from the ground up. In transition, point the right palm to the sky. So in transition now, lower, upper, arms go, but we're going to add in pointing the palms to the sky. So you can see now my right arm's more on the side of my body, and we're adding a totally different move. Yes, this looks over exaggerated, but it's exactly the feelings we're looking for. So we know the key point number 2 now. Right, we're adding it in, palm points to the sky. That's the feeling we're after. So really nice move there, really nice shot, and we'd hopefully start to see some better golf shots out on the golf course. Let's move on to the final point, point number 3. So remind yourself now, point number 1, start from the ground up. Point number 2, we're feeling as though we're pointing the right palm to the sky, feeling that the shaft is working this way. It's going to feel a little bit strange, probably a little bit out of kilter, because we're so used to the shaft working this way in transition. Now, the feeling we're trying to create is here. Let's talk about how now we can strengthen the face and what we want to see at last parallel to add to this drill. So the final piece of this puzzle, point number 3, is just understanding that how we're going to strengthen this face to facilitate the shallowing of the shaft. Now, our palm pointing to the sky, and as we do this, this will help us create the move we're looking for. But the key thing we're looking for here is where we are at last parallel. So, highlight point number one again. We're going to swing to the top, we're going to start from the ground up. And point number two, we're going to try and create this loop. And over-exaggerated, it won't generally happen, but that's the feeling we're going to try and create. Palm to the sky. Now, at last parallel here, I'd really want to see now that our lead wrist is nice and flat, or potentially getting more towards bowed. It's never going to be bowed, but if we could have it flat to bowed rather than flat to cupped, we're going to be in a really nice position to actually work this club and work this club face to marry up a shallow shaft and a nice club face at impact. Again, to remind you, we're going to feel this from the top, start from the ground up, palm to the sky, and at last parallel, we want to really feel like we've got this flat lead wrist, club head slightly behind the hands. From here we can rotate and swing through, and we can allow it all just to let go. A lot of the time now, if we get point number 1 and 2 right, we actually get this position where we get point number 1 and 2, the shaft is nicely shallowed, but I've got a cup lead wrist, so now we've got an open face at impact. So ultimately we're probably going to hit it, start right and go a little bit further right, which we don't generally want to see. Now it's going to take a little bit of trust and a little bit of an over-exaggerated feeling, like we keep saying, to get this right, but when we do, we start seeing some fantastic improvements in ball flight. So let's remind you of all three feelings all in one move together. So point number 1, we're going to start from the ground up rather than moving the hips and shoulders together. And then we're going to feel that we're going to point the right palm to the sky, we're going to strengthen the face. And as we point the right palm to the sky, we'll generally start to move this lead wrist exactly the way we'd like to, not cupping it. We feel like it's starting to strengthen, because if we point this right palm to the sky, this lead wrist will start to flatten. So you can see how this over-exaggerated move is actually going to help us facilitate that nice strengthened face. Right, let's hit this one now. All 3 points. Let's have a practice swing, nice slow motion. Create the loop, create the feelings. And again, over-exaggerated. And let it go. Nice feelings. Let's hit the shot. And again, the way we're saying here is it's nice, simple feelings, and this is something I like to work to, feelings rather than set positions. So, feeling, number 1, first key to shallowing the golf club. We're going to start from the ground up, work through the lasers, the hips, shoulders, hands then follow. Point number 2, we're going to try and feel that we make this loop, and the shaft allows it to feel like it lays down. Again, this will be over-exaggerated. We're going to feel palm to the sky, right palm to the sky, over-exaggerated. And finally, we're going to feel like we've got this flat lead wrist at last parallel, and we've got this nice body working nicely open. Really nice and simple feelings that you can hopefully stick to and work towards out on the driving range, so we see some great improvements out on the golf course. As well as this great video about how you can shallow the golf club, there's plenty of other videos up on Alex Elliott Golf. For irons, how we hit them a little bit further and get a pure strike, bad lie chipping around the green, and also other ones about how we can smash this driver further. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time on Alex Elliott Golf.